My great-great-grandfather, Arthur Wenelt, almost invented television. At least that is what my family has been telling for decades. In the end of the 19th century, Professor Arthur Wenelt invented the Weneltsche Röhre, the Wenelt tube, which was a cathode ray tube which could have been a critical component in TV monitors and computer screens. Could have been, if not Karl Braun, would have invented almost exactly the same thing, the Braun tube, the Braunsche Röhre, at almost exactly the same time in history. And actually he was faster in making it successful. And I guess almost everybody of you knows about the importance of Braunsche Röhre today, but almost nobody knows that a Weneltsche Röhre actually existed. So the tale my family, the legend my family has been telling for decades goes a little bit like this. If he, my great-great-grandfather, would just have been a little bit faster in patenting his invention, we as a family by now would be rich and famous. I went on to research this history a little bit more. I was curious. And I found out that as a professor in Berlin, Arthur Wenelt actually didn't stop when his invention, the Weneltsche Röhre, did not become successful. He went on, he built on the invention of Braun, he invented many more devices. He patented some of them, he published quite many books and articles, and he actually has become one of the most important innovators in the field of thermionics. But I'm not here today to talk to you about thermionics. For me, this story really teaches a lesson about innovation. This family history teaches a lesson of not giving up, even when there are setbacks, and believing in your idea and going on. But in its core, it really teaches a lesson about speed, that innovation has always been about speed. If my great-great-grandfather would have been faster, this is the legend I already told you. So, if that was true 150 years ago, how come that today CEOs all over the world are declaring speed as the #1 success factor in innovation, in digital transformation, as if that would not have been true before? So what has changed is the dimension of speed. My great-great-grandfather, he had to visit a library to read a scientific article. I can just find exactly the same article online in seconds. He took a train to network on a conference. I network while waiting for my flight on social media. And I visit a conference using the live stream, unless it's hub. Of course, it's better to be here in Berlin. So the dimension of speed has changed, and it will change even more. The acceleration will just increase, and that's not something new, I'm telling you. You all know artificial intelligence will bring speed to our decision-making processes, to our ability to understand knowledge, to get access to data like never before, like my great-great-grandfather would not have been able to dream of. And it's our task as a generation to shape this development. So when we, the 4 founders of innosabi, started our company in 2010, we did so with the mission to shape the future by connecting sparks of genius, by bringing together the brightest minds and the best ideas. We have the goal of accelerating corporate innovation processes. And this journey of founding a company in the field of innovation management, in the field of digital innovation, has been a story of constant learning, of constant change, and I want to share that story with you today. At day 1, we were all about consumer integration in innovation processes. The idea was pretty simple. We believed when a product is not only invented in the closed area of a corporate innovation lab by a few engineers, but we believed when we involve hundreds, thousands, or even 10,000s of consumers into this innovation process, the end result, the product or service that is developed this way, will be more successful on the market. So when Haribo created a new type of gummy bear, the blue gold bear, involving hundreds of thousands of consumers in this development of the new product, we, as the founders of innosabi, were called visionary. And once all the major newspapers started talking about us and started talking about the blue gold bear, this is when our story really took off. We won customers like Telekom, Postbank, Daimler, Bayer, you name it, and we kind of thought we made it. This is it, you know, we are where we always wanted to be. Little did we know of the challenge that actually still lied in front of us. So in this phase, our customers, large corporations, were using our technology to work together with customers in the innovation process. For example, to create the blue gummy bear. They wanted to get close customer interaction, feedback, very close customer relationships, and of course, that was amazing. But what happened next is that these companies approached us with the wish to involve even more stakeholders into their innovation process. They wanted to work together with suppliers, like for example, Bayer is doing with supplier innovation, which they call Thrive. They have been able to reduce the time to market by 7 months. They wanted to use the similar tools and processes to co-create products with employees. So like Daimler, for example, is using an internal crowdfunding approach with more than 100,000 employees to shape the future of the company. But when we dig a little deeper into this, we saw it's not only about involving these stakeholders. What is really going on in large corporations is that there are hundreds of innovation initiatives. You name them, you all know some buzzwords: design thinking, hackathons, corporate VC, entrepreneurship, idea management. The list goes on, and every company really has a lot of these programs. Very often, very purposefully, there are hundreds of these programs because they are not only piloting products and services, they're piloting methods as well, and that is a very good thing. But on the downside, it means that individual employees really kind of get lost on where to go with their idea. Let's say you work in accounting and you have an amazing idea. How do you know if you go to the entrepreneurship program, to design thinking, to the hackathon, or maybe to the corporate VC? If you work in production and you have a business challenge, how do you know which program to use? If you're a manager and you have to allocate your budget to the most successful innovation initiative, how do you know which of the hundreds do you choose? And on top of all of that, there's data. There's data that is currently not being used in innovation processes that could be so valuable. There's data from tech blogs, data from patents, from startup databases, from internal systems, you name it. In this environment that we saw in large corporations and our customers, we kind of thought, it's such a chaos. How do we make sense of this chaos? How do we make all these sources for innovation accessible? How do we enable collaboration in this ecosystem? So we searched for a solution, and we didn't find any. So that's why we've built it. Innosabi Galaxy is the one-stop shop for innovation in large corporations. It's the place that gives access to innovation initiatives, that aggregates data, initiatives, people, and really is the one place to go for anything to do with innovation. So let's imagine we are an employee. I am an employee, and let's call him Arthur, for what's worth. Arthur has an idea for a new TV screen. So he visits the toolbox, he submits his idea, and then is guided by the software through this whole chaos we've just seen of initiatives, data, and people. So his idea could be matched with other ideas that are somewhere in this ecosystem. So he can team up with people who are working on similar ideas that he can basically increase the speed of his own project. He's being matched with business challenges that are out there in the organization that might have funding for his idea, that might already have a prototype or a business case. And lastly, he's matched with experts, with coaches that help him to bring his idea to success. We as a startup, we are super, super, super proud, and I cannot stress how proud we are, that we won Siemens as the first company to pilot this approach. They're really building this one-stop shop for innovation, and we are super proud to piloting this with them and are looking forward to rolling it out and onboarding many more organizations this year. So this is basically the story of how we as a company, we as 4 founders went from developing gummy bears to providing solutions for innovation ecosystems using artificial intelligence. This is how we have grown from the founding team of 4 students from the Technical University of Munich to a company of over 50 employees. And we did this by our own means, without any external financing. And we're still growing. In a few weeks, we will move into a new office, and an invitation to everybody who wants to visit us. We always love to connect ourselves. But in reality, well, this is amazing, but it's not what it's about for me personally. What I want to do is to shape the future. And if I can help a car manufacturer like Daimler to work in the innovation projects, to do them more successful, I can change the way we as society move. If I help the Federal Agency for Employment in their innovation processes, we change the way of how people find work, of how people are employed. If we help insurance companies like Allianz in their innovation projects, we change how we feel secure. And finally, if we work with companies like Bayer and pharmaceutical and medical projects, we change the way diseases are cured. I never got to know Arthur Wehner myself. But from what I've heard and what I've read about him, we share one sentiment, and that is that innovators really want to create something that is bigger than themselves. They want to build something that is lasting. And actually, it is said about Arthur that he had a very humble personality and that he always approached his work with the wish and the sense to invent for society and not for himself. So if I could tell him one last thing, if I could actually meet him and talk to him, I would say, Arthur, for me, you did invent television. Thank you.